Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David be born again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharala, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the MOTB, right? And we're going to basically focus on the path which is being laid in front of our eyes while everybody's being told to look at the Ukraine crisis and other distractions that Esau has set up. But before we get into that and how it's eventually going to lead to the implantation of the MOTB, let's go ahead and read this. This is Revelations 13 and 16. And he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That's 666. That's where it comes from. Now, I actually made this last week's camp lesson about this, right? I'm going over the same material because of its heavy nature, right? And this is a very, very important prophecy. So I thought it was worth going over the articles that I covered at camp, but also get into some other articles that I couldn't really focus on. And I wanted to actually show the World Economic White Paper that actually talks about the implantable identities which they're going to want all the world to take, which ultimately is going to lead to that prophecy I just read. But let's get started and let's take a look to see what I have here. Right? So it tells you here, it says Jamaica's digital currency due for national rollout in coming months, central bank, right? And this is actually posted in January 31st, right? And it actually talks to you about how Jamaica is going to bring forth the digital currencies, which is going to usher in the ability to store your money and other important documents on an implantable microchip. Now, right now, we're before that period is here, right? Right now, they are simply getting the digital currencies into place. Okay, that's what you're seeing going on right now. Now, eventually what will happen is there will be some sort of impetus, some sort of event which will cause the reasoning and the requirement of a stricter enforcement of security regarding these digital IDs in your digital wallets, and also of the passports, the jab passports, that is, right? Well, that will eventually lead to the solution of these identities being implantable, okay? But let's read this article and let's see what Jamaica's doing. It says, Jamaica will roll out its digital currency across the country in the first quarter of this year as part of an effort to lower transaction costs and provide financial services to citizens who do not use banks, a central bank official told Reuters. Right? And here's a point that I want to read. The Bank of Jamaica said in December that it completed a pilot project that issued 230 million Jamaican dollars, or 1.5 million, of the new currency in efforts that comes on the heel of similar projects launched by a group of Eastern European nations. Right? Now notice here, it said that it basically issued 230 million Jamaican dollars, right? And you see, what's going on is Jamaica, just like every other country, is trying to find a way to bribe people into using this new digital currency, right? Just like what happened in other countries that wanted to get people on board with certain services. They basically put some sort of bait, some sort of benefit in participating in certain programs. And in this case here, it was money. Okay, I think they put about $1,000 in a particular number of Jamaicans' digital wallet accounts, and they said that if they wanted to retrieve that $1,000 of Jamaican dollars, that they had to actually log into this new digital wallet system and interact with it, right? Well, what do you think Jake did, man? Our people love free money, and that's exactly what these devils are going to do, and they're going to get our people to basically push this amongst ourselves. Now, besides Jamaica, let's see some other places that are doing this exact same thing. Is Nigeria, right? Basically the west coast of Africa, where we have many of the Southern Kingdom brothers still living, right? It says Nigeria becomes the first African nation to roll out digital currency. Nigeria's central bank earlier in February outlawed banks and financial institutions from transacting or operating in cryptocurrencies, saying that they pose a threat to the financial system, right? So basically, they outlawed Bitcoin, Ethereum, basically these organic digital currency, but they're really Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's all a setup, really, right? It's all backed by the CIA and all these clandestine organizations. It simply is a vehicle to get the populace into digital fiat currency, basically, right? The Central Bank of Nigeria joined a growing list of emerging markets betting on digital money to cut transaction costs and boost participation in the formal financial system. Nigeria has become the first country in Africa and one of the first in the world to introduce a digital currency to her citizens. President Muhammadu Buhari said in a televised speech at the launch in Abuja, the capital, the adoption of the central bank digital currency and its underlying technology called blockchain can increase Nigeria's gross domestic product by 29 billion over the next 10 years. So you see, so Africa, they're on board, or Nigeria at least is on board. But again, when you understand Nigeria's role in Africa, it's basically this right here is simply the beginning for the African continent. You're going to start seeing a lot more people adopt this digital currency to be able to trade and interact with Nigeria. Besides Nigeria, you got the land of Manasseh, Cuba. Right? It says Cuba officially endorses crypto for payments. Now, Cuba itself, like it tells you in this article, I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to surmise it for you. It's not going to create its own digital currency, but it's going to start accepting other digital currencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these other nations' digital currencies, right? That's simply the way it's going to go about this. So they're going to adjust their current economic system in Cuba to be able to participate in this new world order that is being pushed. Besides Cuba, look at this, the land of Issachar. Mexico's central bank to launch digital currencies by 2024. The central bank considers the technology very important to financial inclusion. Mexico's government wrote on Twitter, Mexico's central bank will have its digital currency by 2024. The Mexican government announced on social media, although the development was not confirmed by the monetary authority known locally as Banseco. Banseco reports that it will have its own digital currency in circulation by 2024. The Mexican government wrote late on Wednesday on its official Twitter account. So there you go, see? Let's see, who else? Canada. A digital loonie is coming, even if Bank of Canada won't say it directly. right? And this article here basically goes into how Canada, though it's been denying that it's going to go to a digital currency, has been doing everything in as far as testing it, researching it, putting it into the market for the banks to use. So these guys are gonna jump right on board. And why is that? Well, because Canada is part of NATO, and if you've been watching these lessons, you understand that NATO is the beast which the whore, which is America, rides upon, right? Meaning that it's gonna go lockstep with this new world order agenda, and to bring forth these central bank digital currencies, right? And besides Canada, well, you got one of the original players in this game, right? China has a digital currency, and people are starting to use it. Central banks around the world are looking at developing central bank digital currencies to modernize their financial systems and ward off competitions from cryptocurrencies, right? And this is ultimately why a lot of governments have banned cryptocurrency usage, because they're on the verge of issuing their own. Some 140 million people had open wallets from China's new digital yuan as of October and used it for transactions totaling around 62 billion yuan, which is 9.7 billion US. A senior Chinese central bank official said on Wednesday. However, Mu Changchun, the Director General of the Digital Currency Institute of the People's Bank of China, told Hong Kong's FinTech Week conference there was no official launch date for the digital currency, also known as the ECNY. Central banks around the world are looking to develop central bank digital currencies to modernize their financial system, ward off competition from cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and speed up domestic and international payments. China's efforts are amongst the most advanced globally, and the country has been running various trials and pilot schemes of different payment scenarios last year, right? And if you've been watching the news and the Olympics, you could see how they actually been promoting this on these broadcasts, man, when they show little news bits about China and how it is over there. They have all these stores set up to accept these Chinese digital yuans, right? And they're basically introducing the people to these digital currencies over there. And then besides China, you got India, their neighbor, right? It says India to launch its own digital currency in 2022 to 2023, right? And here you see the reason why in these last few years, India has been so crazy with its monetary policy, from outlawing the $50 and the $100 rupees over there, to basically making everybody jump on board these electronic pay systems, which when you go to to India today, you're basically paying using these QR codes, which you find everywhere over there, right? See, they're basically have rushed their citizens into this digital currency. And I made a lesson about this. It was called, what was it? They have a digital currency system or digital banking system over there. It escapes my mind, but it's not expat but I can't remember it, Akim. But they basically have like their own social credit payment system, which the Indian ID all ties into, and everybody in the country has been forced to get it, man, basically, right? And it tells you here, it says China's central bank will issue a digital rupee in 2022 to 2023 financial year, which begins April 1st. India's finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the introduction of the digital rupee would be based on blockchain and other technologies. India would be one of the world's largest economies to introduce a so-called central bank digital currency if it sticks to its plans, following the footsteps of China, which is testing a digital yuan, right? So here you go, man. One of the biggest markets in the world is now switching over. So you see, so when we've been telling you that China and India are basically indicators of what's going to be going on in the world, we meant it. And what you're seeing here is just another example of this, Akim, because fairly soon, as we're going to read, these CBDCs are everywhere in the world right now, man. And you don't know about this because why? Because the world has been made to focus on Ukraine because it's part of the program right now to have you focus on a foreign war, right? And forget about the whole pandemic. And they're eventually going to circle around back to the third round of the pandemic, and it's going to lead to another sort of lockdown, which eventually is going to lead to a requirement of having some sort of digital passport, just like you've seen in these other countries where there has been harsher lockdowns, right? You see, little by little, what these devils do is they wear you down, right? It's, what is it called? Normalcy bias, where pretty soon what was considered bizarre and unheard of will become common and everyday occurrence, right? Well, people aren't going to be resisting as much, and that's what these devils are hoping for, and that's why they're rolling out their agenda to bring forward the NWO the way that they're doing it. Well, let's read this, right? It says, BIS, the Swiss National Bank, 6 exchange complete wholesale CBDC trials, right? And that includes Citi, Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, Hypotherm Bank, Landsberg, and UBS also took part in the tests. And what this basically it talks about is that Switzerland, which is basically one of the main headquarters of these Edomites, right? It's right in the middle of the bottomless pit, which the Bible refers to, which we know today is referred to as Europe, but again, the Bible refers to as the bottomless pit, and spoken about in Revelation. Well, if you understand, BIS is the top bank in the world, the Bank of International Settlements. This is where all contracts, all social security numbers, everything goes right up to this bank, right? This is the bank above all banks in the world, the BIS, right? Well, Switzerland is not going to create their own digital currency, just like Cuba, but what they're doing is that they're basically creating a system to be able to exchange and manage other digital currencies in the world. And why is that? Well, like I had said at camp, right? If you are an elite, you're part of the kings of the earth, right? You're these top Edomites, and you basically are in their club. You have a Swiss account, right? A Swiss bank account, which you can easily hide your money from taxes and all that type of stuff, man. That's why Switzerland, which ultimately is one of the main homelands of the Edomites, is looking to manage their this new currency, because this is what's coming to pass. And then besides them, who else is taking on digital currency? Well, the little small hat people, man, the 1948ers. It says, Bank of Israel accelerating preparations for digital currencies, right? And this is back in November 2021, just a few months ago. It says, Israel's central bank is accelerating its study, research, and preparations for the possible issuance of a digital shekel aimed at creating a more efficient payment system. Banks of Israel Governor Amir Yaron said on Monday. Yaron told a conference that the bank, similar to other central banks, had not yet decided whether it will issue digital currency and was still examining the issue. We are committed to being at the forefront of economic and technological knowledge in this field, he said. That's a bunch of bullshit, man. These devils already have it planned out, and they already have it ready to go. They just got to make it seem like they're doing their due diligence, right? It says, the Bank of Israel began to consider the possibility of issuing a central bank digital currency in late 2017, but a year later, a team established to study the matter recommended against issuing a CBDC in the near future. In May, which is basically about almost like 10 months ago, the central bank said it was once again considering issuing a digital shekel as payment method unrelated to central bank's money base developed. The central bank's ability to navigate monetary policy may be impaired, Yuan said. So basically, they're going to make their own CBDCs exactly against what they had said before. So these devils, man, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouths, right? But I just wanted to read this so that way to show you that even Israel, these small hatters, these 1948ers, are also on board with this, and they should be because it's their plan, right? And besides them, look at this: the European Central Bank, right? Basically, the EU, the beast itself, is also working on a digital euro. Digitalization has spread to every corner of our lives and transformed how we pay, right? And it says, our work aims to ensure that in the digital age, citizens and firms continue to have access to the safest form of money, central bank money, right? Basically, CBDCs, right? And this goes into just the benefits of CBDCs and how they're working to create the most safest form of it, and that anybody who's in the EU could depend on it just like they could depend on the euro and all that type of BS. But again, this shows you, man, you got with the EU on board with this, that's France, Germany, I think it's Spain, Greece. So all these countries who are part of the EU, they're going for digital currency, man. Get ready for a digital euro. And then last but not least, you got Babylon the Great, which is what the America is referred to in the Bible, right? It tells you, it says, Biden orders government to study digital dollar, other current cryptocurrency risk. And if you've been following the news of the financial system here in America, you understand that the Federal Reserve has already long, since 2020, has been looking into digital currencies and basically been talking about issuing a digital dollar, right? And basically getting the system ready for it, right? I made a video how these devils, they basically passed a banking reform on its system, on its transfer system, right? They initiated a new standard between all the banks of the world for the most part, called ISO. I think it was like 2040 or something like that. But it's basically the way banks transfer money and communicate with each other, right, internationally. That way, what is entered over here as first, last name, social security number, address is the same thing as a bank over in India, for example, where they, maybe they may not get first and last name. They may get like first name, surname, right? It allows both banks to understand which different entries are the same, right? It's a way for these devils to communicate with each other. Now, the reason why they did that is because it allows them to not only communicate with each other in new ways, but it also allows for the blockchain system to be incorporated with this information that gets transferred, right? And why would they do that? Well, because they had plans to bring forth a CBDC, which is going to have encryption, is going to have the ability to be tracked in, out, in every way, man. So these devils, like I said, man, they like to pretend that they're doing things slowly and well thought out, but they've already planned this, they've already set up the systems, and all they're doing now is simply rolling it out little by little while you're looking the other way. This 2 Corinthians 2:11. Least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? And that's what these are. These are the devices of the devil, right? That created these CBDCs. And why is that? Well, because you see, this is going to be the way that these devils are going to be able to usher in a reason to have these digital currencies, man. Like this map here shows these. Let me see. These are the all the countries in the world right now that have digital currencies either deployed or have it in development, right? But look over here, 40 which are researching it right here in light blue. America is part of that, right? But this just shows you, man, that China, India, Saudi Arabia, they already got these systems all put in place. South Africa, right? But you see, this is the beast system being set up in front of our very eyes, and all these devils, they're making it seem as if they're all doing it independently. But what's really going on? Well, let's look a little further into it. Right? It says the World Economic Forum has a global digital identity plan. You see that? So these devils, all these different countries who are part of the beast system, right? They've all come together and they basically signed on to Esau's basically wet dream, right? And why is that? Well, it tells you. Let's see, in 2022 at Davos, Budapest, which is where they have the G7 summits and everything. See, these people, they come together and they start setting up these plans to get all these things created, right? So don't believe that these are all independent actions done by independent countries. No, this is all an orchestrated, movement, right? This is why the economies of the world have all been basically taking a dive. This is why all these countries have been all moving in lockstep, because they are all on the same team. Russia, America, China, all these countries, man, they're all, part of it, man. And they're doing this because what they're trying to do is trick the world into this new world order. It says, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, is proposing a global digital identity system that could allow microchips to be implanted into people around the world by 2016. Right? Now, this ultimately was an old report, but this was actually reported recently. Right? According to a report and a screenshot provided by newsworthy newspaper, news partner Deculture, in February 2022 report, Digital Agency Development, the Power of Data Intermediaries, the World Economic Forum was said to support digital identity laws in the United States and the European Union. World Economic Forum staff there found that the C-19 pandemic underlined the power of medical data. Right? You see that? So they're using this past scenario that we went through as a reasoning for these chips, for so-called jab passports, which could form the basis of a new digital identity system. It is clear that these passports act as a form of digital identity to access meeting places such as bars or restaurants, and can address digital inequality. The report said on a collective level, the jab data represents a critical public health benefit, while passports have already available electronically on smartphones. WEF founders and CEO Klaus Schwab talked about implanting digital IDs in people. In a video discovered by Worthy News and news partners, the Culture Cran, an interviewer asked Schwab in France, "We're talking about implantable chips? When is that?" Schwab replied in 2016, "Definitely within the next 10 years, and at first we'll implant it in our clothes, and then we might imagine implanting it in our brains or in our skin." He added excitedly, the World Economic Forum's investigative report this month confirms what the organization sees as a merging of physical, digital, and biological worlds in the pipeline. Right? And what are they talking about? Well, they're talking about this report right here, which I'll go ahead and paste a link to this PDF. But this right here is what the World Economic Forum released, and check out their logo. Like I always try to point out, right? There's a 6, and a 6. All right, so don't get it confused of who these people are. It says the deep shift, 21 ways software will transform global society. Right, and this is from 2015. But let's go and just read. We're not going to read the whole thing, but we're going to focus on the page number 8, and point 1. It says the tipping points, right, which is what they were talking about. It says, Article 1, implantable technologies. Would you look at that? right? Let's go and search for that. So let's see. Here we go. Well, actually, that's not it. Here it goes. Shift 1, implantable technologies. The tipping point, the first implantable mobile phone available commercially, expected date 2023. And remember, this was written in 2015, people. So right now, we are about a year, less than a year away from when a implantable mobile phone is expected to come onto the market, right? And we've all seen this technology in movies, right? Who remembers the remake of Total Recall with Colin Farrell? Remember how he had that phone in his hand? Well, that's what these devils are going to bring to market, right? And this is how they're going to ultimately publicize and make famous these implantable microchips. It says people are becoming more and more connected to devices, and those devices are increasingly becoming connected to their bodies. Devices are not just being worn, but also being implanted into bodies, serving communications, location, and behavior monitoring, and health functions. Pacemakers and cochlear implants were just the beginning of this. With many more health devices constantly being launched, these devices will be able to sense the parameters of diseases. They will enable individuals to take action, send data to monitoring centers, and potentially release healing medicines automatically, right? So you see, these devils are promising all these things, man. So let's take a look real quick. Smart tattoos and other unique chips could help with identification and location. So nice tracking. Implanted devices will likely also help to communicate through normal expressed verbally thought in a built-in smartphone and potentially unexpressed thoughts or moods by reading brainwaves and other signals, right? This is when Facebook is talking about developing digital telepathy. This is what they're talking about, right? The way for people to talk without even speaking, right? It's just simply by thought. And it just goes into all the things that they're trying to say now. Check this out. They're also offering you longer lives, right? Changing the nature of human relations, changes in human interactions and relationships, real-time identification, right? And look at this. Cultural shift, eternal memories. So these devils, they want to know everything, right? They want to give you better decision making, right? Increase reductions of missing children when it's them who are actually abducting these children. Look at this, man. Let's see. And that's about enough, right? If you want to read this, you could actually go through here, click on the link I'm gonna post on the descriptions, and you can see how these devils, man, how they have it all planned out, man. You know, they have everything in mapped out, just like in that movie Don't Look Up, where you had that billionaire character, man. He had all the data points mapped, right? Because they ultimately are looking to make you into a part of the Internet of and for things, right? This is Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt not be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children. You see, and all this information that I just went through, and all these articles talking about the coming CBDC is all there available for our people, right? Our people being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? And if more of our people were to pay attention and to actually research these things, then they would not be caught unaware like they're going to be, right? They would be aware of the coming system, and they would also be aware that it's not for their benefit, right? But what are they doing? What are they busy with? What are they focusing on? Well, if it's not Ukraine, it's sports. If it's not sports, it's music. If it's not music, it's the thug life. If it's not thug life, then it's money, right? And all these different hundreds of different distractions that Babylon the Great, America, is pushing out there, right? Because again, it doesn't. You got to remember, man. These Edomites, these so-called Caucasians, they don't have to kill you off, right? All they got to do is distract you so that way you're not in this battle, right? Because if they distract you, then you're simply just, you're out of the fight already, right? Because what's coming, right? It says cash in hand. This cryptocurrency body implant will secure your cyber cash stash. You see that? So there's already articles out there that have been published since 2018 and even before this that tie all these knots together, tie all these little keys. They put them all online for us, right? But again, to see this, you have to research and you have to know what's going on, right? Remember that old thing that Donald Rumsfeld, this old politician, said, man, you don't know what you don't know? Well, why do our people not know? Well, first and foremost is because the Lord has closed their eyes, right? He has waxed their ears fat so that way they don't look into the truth, right? But the physical reason of why they don't know is because they're, like I said, they're being too distracted, right? They're not looking to their well-being. They're not looking at where they're going, right? In the future, a secure cryptocurrency storage and payments, simply cash in hand. Inspect a gadget looks at how one firm's human microchip implant could help, right? And I'm not going to go into the articles. We all read these companies are out there promising to store all your information from your emails, your passport, your home, network settings, and even now your money in one chip the size of a grain of rice, right? We've all heard that, that saying, man, that they're trying to make it, seem like it's nothing, right? Like it's such a tiny, small thing. But what they don't tell you is that it has spiritual implications, right? That piercing of your skin by this digital all, as Apostle Tahar coins it, is a spiritual sign that you have given your soul over to your master, that being these Edomites, right? This is Revelations 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yahweh Shai. Right? And that torment, that fire, which the people who take these mark of the beast that it's talking about, is the basically the nuclear annihilation that's coming to the world, right? Namely, America and the Western powers, otherwise known as NATO, right? There's going to be many places upon the earth which will be basically burnt up because of these nuclear weapons, right? That will be launched off, right? Because you see, what's going to happen, as the prophecies in the Bible state, is that first these devils are going to come through and they're going to mandate the implantation of these marks in our hands or in our foreheads, right? And when that happens, there's going to be an hour, not a literal hour, but there's going to be a time of temptation, time that you will be tested, where you're going to have to basically live without that mark, and basically you're going to be an outlier from the New World Order society, man. You will not be able to participate in it. And it's going to slowly be rolled out, man. So it's going to be harder and harder, and you're ultimately going to be tested, right? Are you going to be for the side of the Lord and resist, or are you going to buckle up, and or are you going to fold up and join Esau's side, right, for that moment of temporary satisfaction? Well, I just read to you what's going to happen for those people who do take that mark, right? You're going to end up burnt up by these nuclear missiles, which will be the next thing that comes upon the world after the mark of the beast, right? Because the mark of the beast is going to be mandated. World War III is going to break out. The Messiah, it will then make his appearance, save the elect, the 1/3 and 144,000, and then the nuclear missiles will land and destroy those who have been rejected, right? So I know this was a little bit longer up here, but I just wanted to cover those articles. I wanted to make it very plain that we're in that time, man. These devils are bringing forth their agenda, and a lot of people are going to be caught unawares simply because they have not looked to their going, man. But hopefully this video was edifying, Akim. Until the next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakal Kodash. Until the next time, Akim. Shalom.